The Portland Trailblazers may have just won a championship in 2019 if Nurk was healthy. Welcome to Rip City Rundown, and in this video we will hop into the past and be analyzing how close the Blazers actually were to winning the NBA championship in 2019. In 2019, our roster consisted of Dame at the 1, CJ at the 2, Nurk at the 5, and a lot of interchangeable guys at the 3-4, including Rodney Hood, Al-Farouq Aminu, and Maurice Harkless. However, other than the starters, we had a lot of firepower, like Rodney Hood. If he wasn't starting, he was on the bench. Seth Curry, Gary Trent Jr., Jake Layman, even E.T., Enes Kanter. I mean, come on. Other than Kanter and Nurk, those are all guys who can get hot when shooting the ball. The Blazers' offense has always been outstanding throughout this decade, and this year was no different, with Portland having a third-rated offense. Despite Portland having one of the best offenses every year, the defense always seems to be the polar opposite, ranking in the middle to the tail end of the pack. However, this year was different. The Blazers ranked 16 on defense, which is average, and linked that with the offense, and they were a powerhouse of a team. The Blazers have seemed to always struggle with being too small and being bullied on the defensive end. But this year was different. With the size and athletic presence of Harkless and Al-Farouq, the Blazers were considered an average defensive team, and that's all they needed to be with how good their offense was. The Blazers were killing it in the regular season, expecting to finish anywhere from the 3 to 5 seed, but that was until March 25th, 2019. With under 10 games to go in the regular season, Blazers faced the Brooklyn Nets. The game was an absolute bloodbath as they entered double overtime. At around the 2-minute mark of the second OT, Jusuf Nurkic went for a rebound and broke his leg and suffered a season-ending injury. It was just a vomit-worthy moment, given the Blazers were at the peak after being mediocre for so many years, and that they would have to play in the playoffs without their best defender, which you could argue was their second most important player on the team. Although the Blazers won the game against the Nets, the morale was low, but they had to fight and try to make a run despite being shorthanded. The Blazers did have Zach Collins as a replacement center, but obviously he was young, skinny, and just not the Bosnian beast like Nurk. In the middle of the season, the Blazers signed Enes Kanter as a restricted free agent, and he would also have to be the Blazers' go-to center for the remainder of the season. Luckily, Portland's round 1 matchup was winnable given the Thunder's offensive threats were not necessarily big men, but Russell Westbrook and Paul George, which Harkless, Dame, and CJ could, handle. No shade to Steven Adams, he's an adequate center, but the Thunder's offense did not consist of giving the ball to him that much. The Blazers won the series 4-1, but they knew the next matchup would be tough. The Denver Nuggets were an extremely dangerous, talented team, finishing second in the West and having both a top 10 defense and offense. The Nuggets had a scary duo in Jamal Murray and future MVP Nikola Jokic, which the Blazers would somehow have to contain. The Nuggets' strategy was obvious. Let the future MVP absolutely go to work and chew up Kanter like a piranha, and that's exactly what happened. Nikola Jokic averaged 27 points, 14 rebounds, and 7.5 assists in the 7-game series against Portland. It also didn't help that Kanter was playing through a shoulder injury, meaning he wasn't even 100%. Not only that, but my man Enes was fasting during the series. My man wasn't allowed to drink water or even eat during sunrise. Kanter is already one of the worst defensive bigs in the NBA, and mix that with hunger, dehydration, and an injury, and that's free cookies for Jokic. Fortunately, the Blazers stuck to the game plan, which was play small and shoot the lights out, which they had to, given they had amazing shooters on their team. When it was all said and done, the Blazers were able to squeak out the series in an incredible Game 7 and go to the Western Conference Finals. Unfortunately, there was not a lot of time to celebrate because the Blazers were then matched up against the best team in the NBA, the Golden State Warriors. The Warriors had the best offense in the NBA and an above-average defense, so the Blazers knew they would have to shoot the lights out if they wanted a chance to go to the finals. The Warriors were loaded with Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, DeMarcus Cousins, frickin' Kevin Durant. However, Bogut found his way into the rotation, and a huge thing about this was that the Warriors were missing Kevin Durant. You see, the Warriors can miss their best players, and it doesn't matter because they're still stacked because they're spoiled and just build super teams. That is why the Blazers missing Nurkic hurt the Blazers so much more compared to Golden State. Obviously, the Blazers got swept, but they played so well, and let me explain. The Warriors made it to the finals the last 4 years, and the Blazers had little playoff experience, yet 3 out of the 4 games in this series, they led by as much as 17. Yes, the Blazers blew 3 17-point leads and actually led the series more than Golden State. The Blazers' small lineup was outboarded 229 to 189 throughout the series, which is not a small number. In a game where both teams are so hot at shooting, the boards are extremely important to give your team more chances for shots. The Blazers missing their best rebounder and best defender made it so hard to have a chance to win the series. If the Blazers had Jusuf Nurkic, who was a beast rebounder, great defender, and just an overall experienced NBA player, the Blazers could have actually won this series. I still think it would have been unlikely, but they could have, and that's the key word, because I think the Blazers would have matched up beautifully versus the Toronto Raptors in the NBA Finals. Not only did the Blazers match up better against Toronto, but just Toronto barely beat a Golden State team despite them missing Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson, getting season-ending injuries in the series. It was the double ACL ring. Overall, that is why the Blazers could have won a championship this year. The Warriors' injuries opened the door for us, but, Jusuf Nurkic suffering this brutal injury kind of cost us. This quote-unquote sweep was way closer than many people thought. There is no doubt in my mind that this series actually could have went either way if we had our star center. That's going to do it for this video, guys. Do you think we actually could have won in 2019 if Nurk didn't get hurt? Or do you think Golden State's firepower would have still been too strong for us? Go comment what you think, and make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more Blazers and NBA content.